Welcome to Real Talk with AV. I'm your host, Anthony Valentine. And today I want to discuss this report from WFAN, Mr. Marash, indicating that after the Denver Broncos game and the collapse that the New York Giants had, that Brian Daboll was fired. He also said that, or alluded to it coming from ownership, which I can only attribute to John Mara. However, that cooler heads prevailed and was able to talk John Mara out of firing Dayball. I think it was Joe Shane and others in the front office that was able to talk John Mara out of it. Fast forward a couple weeks now, and the Giants didn't make any trades at the trade deadline. Now, I know there's reports out there that indicate or allude to Joe Shane working the phones, trying to make some type of trades. I don't think that Joe Shane was allowed to make trades. I don't think that he was allowed to mess with any of the future draft picks. I really do believe that ownership indicated to Joe that he's not allowed to trade any of the future draft picks. And I think that was the right decision. I also believe that they should have fired Dayball and they should have fired Joe Shane. Let's look at the numbers. Look at the track record. Look at the past 3 years. Look at the people that have been drafted that are not even on an NFL roster. Let's look at some of his draft busts that are still on the roster. Let's look at the kicking situation. Let's look at the win-loss record. Let's look at the free agency with Saquon Barkley, the debacle. You got nothing from that. Let's look at Xavier McKinney. You got nothing from that. Let's look at Julian Love. You got nothing from that. And so I don't understand where the support is coming from for Joe Shane. It seems like people are more inept to fire Dayball and keep Joe. They both have to be fired. Joe can't put a winning roster together, and his tenure with the Giants has shown that. There is nothing that this man has done that leads me to believe that he's capable of putting a winning roster together. Yes, are there players on this team? People will point out to Malik Neighbors. Well, I mean, they fell to the Giants at number 6. People will say, oh, Abdul Carter. Okay, fell to the Giants at number 3. People will say, oh, Jackson Dart. Okay, Brian Daboll is the one that wanted Jackson Dart. If we're to believe what was reported, is that Joe Shane actually wanted Shedeur. He was the one that was always going to the Colorado practices and was real high on Shedeur. And the reports also indicate that actually Brian Daboll wanted Jackson Dart at 3. And so let's look at the things that he has done. Like Joe Shane has not done anything as a general manager of a professional football team that leads me to believe that he's capable of taking this team to the promised land. At all. If I had this type of performance with the agency that I work for, they should get rid of me ASAP. Give me my walking papers. There is no reason for them to hold on to me knowing that I'm not going to improve this team. I'm not going to be able to make a turnaround and develop a winning culture. If anything, I really do believe he's hurting this team more than he's helping it. Look in the kicking situation. That has been a debacle. And so I don't understand when I hear some of the reports, some of the stuff on the social media in favor of Joe Shane. I just don't know where that's coming from. He's not successful at his job. If we look back to Hard Knocks, and again, I don't understand why they let this air. Again, maybe it's just his arrogance. There was a clip in Hard Knocks last year when he's in his office, and I believe it's his son, and he asked his son some type of question about like who would you draft or something of that nature, and his son says Jaden Daniels. And now Jaden Daniels has been hurt. We get that, but look at the remarkable season that he had last year. And so, you know, uh, he also indicated that the Chicago Bears was driving up the price on Saquon Barkley, and that the Eagles were out. Well, I guess he was right on that. Also, there is nothing about Joe Schoen as a general manager that leads me to believe that he's capable of putting a winning team, a winning roster together. Are there stud superstar players on this team? Absolutely. However, look at the win-loss record. That's all that matters. For the last 3 years, they have started out 2-6, 2-7. It is ridiculous. They got one more win than the New York Jets. They got beat by the New Orleans Saints. And so this is all under his tenure. Why should he stay? It makes no sense from a business standpoint. It makes no sense to keep these two individuals around. We already know that Brian Daboll can't put a coaching staff together to save his life. And so what I will say is that Jackson Dart appears to be on a high trajectory. He has it. I believe if you get a competent coach and a competent coaching staff, that this young fella is going to be something in this league. I mean, you have other players talking about his rise and how good he is. And I don't believe that by getting rid of Daboll now is going to stunt his growth. Remember, there were people in the media, professionals, experts, that was saying, oh, they shouldn't start Dart when they started him, this and that. And look, he's doing just fine. And so I don't understand the support, but I do believe that John Mara handcuffed it, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen from coming through and making any type of trades. They didn't want to mess with the draft capital for next year's draft. Going to leave that to the new regime. And I think that was the right call. But I also believe that he needs to take it a step further, and he needs to fire these two individuals. He also needs to fire Shane Bowen. I don't know why Shane Bowen is still there. It makes no sense. But again, it points to that leadership. It points to Coach Daboll, and it also points to Joe Schoen. There's no reason why these individuals still need to be with this team. Well, with that said, folks, please subscribe, hit a like if you will, and have yourself a good weekend. Hopefully, we can watch the Giants win on Sunday against the Bears. I'm not hopeful. It's a winnable game, but I'm not hopeful. But with that said, be kind and be good. Enjoy your weekend.